Hey everybody, let me just check. Everything's coming live. Hang on. We've got YouTube live. We've got Twitter live. LinkedIn still connecting. Snoozer. We're live on Twitch for those of you on Twitch. And we're here on Riverside. Happy Tuesday, everybody. What an amazing morning to Tuesday. Boom, the markets picked up, quantitative tightening's over. We had a disaster weekend on Monday where the carry trade took a huge impact after a nice weekend where we took a bit of a buffer. LinkedIn is now live. Here we go. Bang, live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Stefan Rust here. I'm the founder of Truflation, bringing to you live economic data 24/7, nonstop, no shutdowns, always on, and verifiable attestation live through the Truth Network blockchain, which is powering Truth Network, Truflation. So happy to be here. I'm still in a different time zone and still trying to hustle and keep everything going. So what I'm going to cover off today, we're going to talk a little bit about quantitative tightening coming to the end. We're going to talk a bit about Truflation, what happened. We're going to talk a bit about the markets, how the crypto markets have significantly recovered, some of the new products that we've launched around financialization of data. What does that mean? And what are we working towards? Just one use case and one example of what you are going to get a flavor to come in 2026. We'll also then talk a bit about what else is going on in the market. Is it over? Michael Saylor, these digital asset treasuries that were all created under huge hubris and now are really underperforming. What's going on there? Some opinions there. And then prediction markets. Prediction markets is a hot space right now. It is saving grace for crypto. We saw the announcement associated with Kalshi going live on Solana or attempting to go live on Solana. Will they actually be live already, or they're announcing it live? There's Solana breakpoint in Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks' time. What does that mean? How's that going to play out? And so those are just some of the things that we'll be covering today. It is Wednesday, December 3rd at midnight over here in Hong Kong right now, or Tuesday, 11 p.m. a.m. On the East Coast, minus 3 hours. That puts us at 8 a.m. on the Pacific time, and then Europe is, I think, 6 p.m. European time. I don't know. Those are the time zones. I'm warped. We've had an amazing amount of meetings in Hong Kong, amazing activity, energy's back. So it's interesting to see how this capital market is adjusting to its new environment. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's go straight into it. I know I want to keep this to 30 minutes or actually 20 minutes. And let's just go rock and roll, everybody. So, first off, Kobayashi writes about quantitative tightening. So our friend, Mr. Powell, was over there giving a speech at the Hoover Institute. And I mean, basically, nothing burger. Who the hell cares about quantitative tightening ending? What does that even mean? It means nothing to any of us on the streets. It's just some nebulous announcement, gives him more visibility and airtime that he doesn't deserve. And anyway, I think everybody should be getting a tax credit because of the government shutdown, because all the services weren't made available to anybody. So 30 days tax credit somehow. Is that possible? Let's see. But anyway, quantitative tightening is ending. That's the big news. And I think that ultimately has kicked into the market, right? And that's why we're seeing this huge recovery here, right? I mean, look at these recoveries, these crypto markets going up. And you can see the same in the S&P 500, by the way. The S&P 500 is no different. We're reaching all-time high again, right? So it's like all of these stocks performing in the same way. And why is that? Why is that happening? I think this is because quantitative tightening has come to an end. Why did we see this huge drop on Monday morning? It was largely because of this thing called the carry trade, right? So that was coming into effect. What is the carry trade? What does that mean? I think that's really what's happening, right? So let's step back and bear in mind that the biggest holder of here, I'm going to go here. Here you can see Benjamin Cohen, another analyst, if you're not following him. And by the way, everything I say in this podcast is not financial advice. This is, you have to do your own research, right? DYOR. It's your responsibility. All I'm trying to do here is instigate and incite and spark new ideas, new where to go and do your research, how to do your research, so that you can ultimately also learn and find the resources quickly, saving you time. And that's what we built Truflation for, to give you insights on the economic calendar and the impact of that economic calendar. Right. So here he's talking that the reason why Bitcoin dropped, and by the way, this was stocks as well. So this is, again, cryptos and stocks are moving the same. They're as volatile as each other. There's no difference anymore. So ultimately, there is no difference anymore. The institutions have come into crypto. They have taken control of crypto. And largely what drives this market is the ultimate, fear and greed index, right? So right now, the fear is super high. Even though quantitative tightening is over, we are waiting for the federal FOMC announcement, whether they're going to drop interest rates and by how much. The market seems to think 80% drop in interest rates. But is that true? Will we see that? I don't know. But the other thing is, I was approached, I got some questions around, why did the market tank? Is Bitcoin over? Is crypto over? Is shares over? Is the bull cycle over? And everything we're seeing is still proving to a strong money supply entering into the market, meaning that assets are likely to appreciate. It is just a shakeout that's taking place now. There's a huge level of nervousness in the market. And that's ultimately what's driving it. And you can see this here, right here, fear factor, high, mega high, and all-time high, right? But ultimately, I want to come back to the carry trade. What does this really mean, right? So think about it. A lot of people in Japan, bought US treasuries. Why? In Japan, I can borrow yen, which was at the time a strong currency. So it was stronger than the US dollar. So I got strong dollar to allow me to buy US dollar treasury bills, I'm paying, by the way, if I borrow in yen, I'm paying, let's say, 1% interest maybe. And I can go and earn 4%. So I have a 3% spread, and I can pocket all of that spread as long as it works. And now all of a sudden, the yen is dropping in value. Inflation is hitting Japan. The cost of capital, those borrowings that you made in yen, are no longer 1%. They may be hitting 2%. And the forecast for inflation, for interest rates in the US is coming down. That means more US dollar money supply coming into the market. That means a decline in dollar, which means that at the same time, there is going to be more supply of dollar in the market, and the interest rate's going to drop. So let's say that you're not earning 4% and 1%, you're paying 2%, and maybe you're earning 3.5%. So the margin is 1.5%, and you take that in FX risk. And so this all has to unravel and unwind, and it still hasn't happened despite July 24, this first coming to rise, and we saw the first notions and movements of that. That's what's happening. That's called the Japan carry trade. This is at a macro level impacting a lot of the financial markets. And if you don't think that the Federal Reserves and the central bankers around the world are concocting plans on navigating this at a global basis, you are dreaming, right? They are on calls with each other. They're talking to each other. They're trying to balance the global economy and map that against the national requirements in a given market. And so these are all taking place at a far grander scale than you've ever seen in crypto or any other markets, that everybody complains that, oh, they're all colluding to do this. The market makers are behind this. This is happening at a scale far greater than anywhere else, right? If you think about it, the size of these markets, there was somebody sent me somebody from the community sent me a really cool image that I thought I wanted to share. I don't know how I can share this with you here because I haven't uploaded it into my computer because I just got this image. But basically on here, you can see that the crypto market is only $2 trillion, gold, 22 trillion, art, cars, collectibles, 27 trillion. You have equities, $135 trillion. You have bonds, 318 trillion in debt outstanding that is owed to people, for whatever reasons. All these governments borrowing money, $300 trillion. I mean, the magnitude, we don't even know how big that is. Real estate is the biggest category. It's $370 trillion. And then there's just money in circulation, which if you think about it, it's debt, right? So money in circulation is a script that a government or Federal Reserve owes you that sort of amount. And in theory, they should be backing that by gold or something, but that actually is in a total around the world is not a fact anymore. But the total money supply around the world is about 130 trillion. Right, so that's sort of the amount in circulation. So crypto is still only 3 trillion. It's not even a blip on the radar. So these are things that are happening, having a far greater impact on the economy worldwide, and something to be aware of, right? And the global financial markets work on an economic calendar, and that's why at Truflation.com we have brought to you a inflation calendar, right? So you can see right here our inflation calendar, what's coming on. So, some of the shutdown has brought about a whole change and slew in data when they release what I shared with it in the last one. But the big date right now, Wednesday 10th, this is going to be a key factor and why everybody is nervous and fearful, right? We have the employment numbers. You all know we have our employment index as well. This comes out on the 5th, and then consumer expectations. What do they expect on Monday? And then on Wednesday, the infamous FOMC meeting, which defines interest rates, and then consumer, the CPI comes out. So the Bureau of Lagging Statistics is coming out there and going to announce that as well. So yeah, that's really what impacted the markets. And you can see here, if you look at Bitcoin, the last 7 days, let's look at the 7-day scenario. You can see drop here. This was the Japan carry trade. Asia began to realize this, and that's what took this down right away. Bang, and all the way down to here. It went down to 84,000. And now we're all the way back up. We nearly made all of that back up again. So I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people took out leveraged longs here. Boom, went up from, what are we down here? 84,000 all the way back up to now we're nearly at 90,000, above 91,000. So yeah, that is the quantitative tightening. So I don't know, if you're looking at that, that's sort of how I would justify this and make this so clearly visible. So again, here, the drop, the Japan carry trade, which took an impact on Monday. Today we're Tuesday, we're reminded of the quantitative tightening coming to an end. Boom, picks up again. Will this go on? How much further? How much longer? We need something to happen in the interest rate category on the 10th. So I don't think too much is going to happen until the 10th. People are still very nervous, as we saw in the fear and greed factor. But we've been working outside around leveraging the Truflation signals and the economic calendar signals to launch a BTF, a Bitcoin BTF. So what is this about? So basically a blockchain traded fund, right? So not an ETF, a BTF. And so what we do is we take the Truflation signal, leverage that acts and drives regime changes in the purchasing and selling patterns associated with Bitcoin. So this acts as a treasury, not just any old treasury, but this is a Bitcoin treasury that's constantly buying and selling Bitcoin, taking long positions, short positions, leverage positions, and doing this all automated on the blockchain together with Chainlink and Quantum. So super excited to be doing this. It runs on the Chainlink runtime environment, which is a standard environment that works and supports all the different chains. That's the idea. Right now it runs on Ethereum, and super excited to see this. You can read a lot of it about it here. There's a paper that's come out, and you can read how the regime is driving the purchase and the optimization of managing the BTF, right? And so here, a quick introduction, the actual activity, what is the Truflation signal? You can see the signals here. Anyway, you can read this yourself. I'm not going to walk you through this, but we're super excited to have actually a BTF, a blockchain traded fund live on the Chainlink CRE runtime environment. So yeah, pretty excited about that. Again, you can download this. There's a blog post about this. You can go to the blog. Here it is. And then you'll be able to download at the end of this report, get more like this, sign up, and you should be able to download this paper somewhere, but this will be made available for you to download and read. We've also got some other papers coming out around prediction markets and how the Truth Network is really going to allow you to effectively leverage prediction markets. And then at the same time, how the Truth token acts as the utility and the liquidity to enable a lot of that. So all of a sudden, we're going to be highlighting the utility of that. And you will witness that on an economic focused prediction market only for economic data. And that is going to be on truflation.com. So stay tuned. That's what we're building out. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just telling you, go and find out about info finance, what that means, and how that has an impact on what everybody's doing. I think, why did we launch a Bitcoin treasury fund, right? I think we just felt that there's a whole new thing to talk about, right? And it's really, everybody's talking about these digital asset treasuries that were launched. And at the time, they were really bullish. They constantly kept buying Bitcoin and hodling Bitcoin, right? And so, here we've seen, what is MicroStrategy at Strategy. MicroStrategy, formerly known as, now it's called Strategy, just shifted their behavior, and it's a move the market cannot ignore. I'm breaking down this in science. So Rand Neuner breaks it down here in his video. So go watch his video if you want to find out about it. But he talks about it. Also, Anton Golub, another person you may want to follow. He's very active on LinkedIn, so different platform. This is not X, but he goes and has been analyzing MicroStrategy for quite a while. And so he talks, quickly summary. I really like his summaries, got really good posts, quickly, succinctly delivering a message. And basically, he's always been promoting strategy as fucked, FCKED. I guess this is their preferred equity shares or pricing somehow. But anyway, MicroStrategy is down 45% in 2025. Strategy is down 65% from its peak. I mean, obviously, the whole market's down, so you can't blame it for that. MicroStrategy is 7% lower today since October 2024. Pain is not over. Currently, the MNAV, which is basically the pool, and he explains it here, right? Strategy has 55 billion worth of Bitcoin, but market is pricing that at 47 billion Bitcoin. So you take the 55 billion multiplied by the MNAV of 0.857, that results in the 47 billion that you see here. So that's sort of what we are writing about here. You can see he's got three big options to sort of make sure he doesn't sell his Bitcoin. He has a way to either improve that MNAV ratio, which is the core function of a treasury, is to try and improve that and show that buying strategy stakes equity is better than buying Bitcoin. Ultimately, you got to do your own due diligence. You got to do your own research, not just research. Do your due diligence in these things. Search it up. Find out other people. Let me know who are some of the other people out there that are doing the kind of research. But here you can see Anton has done a lot of research and due diligence in strategy and is ultimately not convinced that strategy is choosing a right angle. And everybody, there'll be others that are super bullish on strategy and see this as an opportunity to buy strategy stock. Why? Because as soon as the MNAV jumps up to 1 again, you've automatically made upside, right? And will that happen? A lot of people will believe that will happen. And they're going to be people and companies and investors and traders and speculators that focus solely on finding opportunity and arbitrage. We saw that with GBTC. I remember the value of GBTC dropped down and people would just trade it, the price of Bitcoin, sell in the Bitcoin to the MNAV and doing conversions associated with that, right? And so this is always an opportunity, right? So he's an option itself, Sailor, to improve that, sell Bitcoin to fund obligations and kill his never sell Bitcoin narrative. Unlikely to happen. Continue dumping common shares on the retail to raise funds. So what he's doing is selling. He took a lot of debt out to buy Bitcoin. And so ultimately he needs to service that debt either in the form of interest rates or in form of amortization of the outstanding nominal value. And so those are two things that he needs. Where does he get the money from? He has to find source of money. When the market of Bitcoin goes up, he has a much stronger proposition. In the price where it goes, in the case where it goes down and the shares go down, he's got to sell stake equity in the company or shares, and that's ultimately what that's doing. Cut preferred share dividends to save cash. So that's the other thing. He has dividends that he needs to pay out, or interest rates, or amortization to people that lent him money. And so instead of doing that, we just save cash. So those are the options, right? And it's very well presented. So you can do your own research and you can actually do your own due diligence based on input. And let me know if there are other people that I should be tracking and finding and identifying so that we can also discover new types of readers and analysts and researchers. So again, you can actually read more about what I was talking about on the Japan carry trade right here. We did a post on Twitter. So if you're not following us on X, please follow us on X, follow us on YouTube. That's where we bring you most of our newsletters, and LinkedIn, by the way. We're doing much more on LinkedIn. So follow us on those markets, right? And that's where we will share a lot of our insights so that you too can do your research and you too can do your due diligence around opportunities that are out there and in this market, right? Yeah, I think, the other thing that we noticed at inflation's been moving quite a bit, right? Truflation is still down at 2.51%. You can see we had a bit of a drop here starting December and then a rise again after the Cyber Monday, Black Friday discounts and drops, right? So Black Friday started a lot earlier than just the Friday. So a lot of discounts started much earlier, and we took those prices into account. And now they're picking up again as Cyber Monday is over and the prices are going back to reality. That happened across the apparel industry, in the food category. And so those are the categories that generally really mattered. And we're seeing that happen right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it on a macro level. There's a lot more I can cover off. There's so much going on. We're really busy at Truflation right now. Super excited to bring you more indexes, get more distribution of our indexes, and some really big partnerships that we're working on that I think are really innovative, and nobody in crypto is doing this stuff. We're really trying to blend the real world with the crypto world, bringing you real world data onto blockchain, and then extracting that and trying to leverage the blockchain to bring new financialization associated with data to the real world. That's what we're doing. And we're super excited about this. A lot of heavy lift, a lot of education, but a lot of interest in what we're doing. So we get a lot of street cred. A lot of people love Truflation. So really happy about that. And we try to respond to the community's requests. And one of the things is, because we're getting so much busier, that and given, I still want to keep you up to date and inform you about things that are going on. So I will only be doing this podcast now and these AMAs on Tuesdays, no longer on Thursdays. We're going to focus on Tuesday and bring you richer content when you're active and engaged at early on in the week. And hopefully you've had some time to rest or do your own research and do your own due diligence during the weekend, coming back with armed with questions and insights and thoughts and new energy. And so we can help you address those on the Tuesday and identify new scores and new insights to complement your research and your due diligence. Anyway, a lot of you have been asking questions around a core set of things. We've just been doing some restructuring at Truflation. We focused on up leveling to the next level so we can be ready for 2026. And the idea there for us, and some of you have noticed that some of the community leads, some of our participants, some of our team members are no longer active in and on the various communities or sites or associated with Truflation anymore. And part of that reason is we're going and moving towards becoming a more reliable company, right? So we have to follow more guidelines. We're building out internal operating systems so that we can scale much better. We're still going to remain a decentralized team, leveraging decentralized technology to bring centralized entities and centralized partners the right kind of transparent 24/7 reliability around the data that they're looking for. We have to work in time zones. The world works in time zones. Those are the new borders. It's no longer a line on a piece of paper in black ink. It is actually going to be time zones going down the longitudes that define where and how geographies work. And so we're going to be working across these time zones to be able to do things globally. And so we've had to also up level around the financialization of data. So how do we get more reliable? How do we build more, sort of data and KPI driven? We're becoming a real business. This is no longer, an organization, a crypto company, token go up and we make money. No, we have to make money. We have to build a business. So we need operational expertise. We need OKRs and KPIs like any normal business will do. And how do we drive that in the organization? Who is going to lead that? How do we drive that? And so that's where we've been up leveling and exchanging our talent. Getting more sales focused. We are going to be really focused on driving revenue for the protocol and for the actual business itself. And then number 3 is we are financializing our data. What does that mean? We're building financial products. What is a BTF? How do we monetize the BTF? How do we build alternative BTFs? How do we do prediction markets? How do we leverage our economic data streams 24/7? Full attestation capability. How do we make on an SQL-based blockchain where the order book can be centralized on the blockchain with no fee, faster execution skills, etc. How do we work on the financialization of our data? We need the math skills underlying that. And so those are the 3 areas: operationalization, the financialization of data, as well as the sales focus for our data set. So that's really what we're working on, Truflation. A lot of you have been asking, what's going on? Are we going away? We are not going away. We're here. We're continuing to fight day in, day out, and bring to you the best we possibly can. And then another question that came up from the community was a lot of people were asking about the truth vesting contract out there. We have 42% of our token supply in this Truflation vesting. This is unlocked and locked tokens. A lot of these are still locked and unclaimed tokens. So this is in a smart contract. We have no control over these. These have an emission schedule that is driving these tokens into the various pools so that all the team members can now get it. And these have been moved into there and scheduled for distribution. and people can claim them, people can't. I don't know what the portion is of unclaimed versus claimed and locked versus unlocked. So those are things that are all embedded in this 42%. You were asking after that, so I just felt it was important to be transparent and share that with you. Yeah, we have not been getting any credit for all the business and the work that we've been doing in crypto land. So, buy the crypto land is what I mean. So token holders, other than the community that have been very supportive and very engaging and patient throughout this whole period of time, we just haven't been receiving that much support from the crypto community, given the types of transactions and partnerships that we've been closing and all the work and infrastructure that we've been building. Ultimately, where are we at right now? I'm always shocked at how sad this looks, but we're down at 8 cents. Not 8 cents, $0.008. So, okay, nice spike here. Yeah, but I mean, look, we were all the way down at, what were we down here? 0.73. We're building in the real world, and we're going to be very much focused on taking blockchain technologies into the real world with real world data. That's what we're doing. And as I mentioned, our focus is going to be around the financialization of this data, the operationalization of our business, and then ultimately getting to the monetization associated with these, with that reverse priority. In order to continue to supply the monetization, we need a strong operation. In order to have that strong operation, we can actually then get to deliver reliable financialization of the data. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this. 31 minutes. So I'm going to call it quits, and I will see you again next Tuesday. No longer Thursday. Tuesday it is. Come, be here, be more of you, be engaged, and ask me the questions that you're asking, right? They're brilliant questions. They're hard questions, and I love fucking hard questions. Bring them on. This is what we're here to do. We're fighting in hard times, and we're ready to take on the hard times. This is only the beginning. We have so much more runway, so much more upside, but do your own research and due diligence before you deploy any capital. But we have to get back to the ages where we have to take our own responsibility. We can't just sit back and let others do that for us. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you again next Tuesday from a different country. So thanks, everybody. Adios for now. Sayonara. Zaijian. Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.